Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Podcast. I'm Lauren LaSalle, and I'm a former therapist. I'm a highly sensitive person and a self-care and empowerment coach for highly sensitive people. My goal for this podcast is to create a feeling of community, to be a supportive place for HSPs, and to normalize our experiences as highly sensitive people. Because I'm pretty sure we've all spent way too much time feeling like we're weird or don't fit in. Well, guess what? Here, you fit in perfectly. This podcast will give you tools to better understand yourself, to help you learn how to care for yourself as an HSP, and to start viewing your sensitivity as a strength. Thank you so much for joining me, and let's begin. Welcome back to the Highly Sensitive Podcast. I actually just already recorded this intro only to find out that it was not using my recording mic, it was using my laptop mic. So the sound was very, very bad. So here we are again. Today am running on 6 hours of sleep. For the past 2 nights, I've got 6 hours of sleep and I am not doing well. But that just shows how important self-care practices are, because the lack of sleep was out of my control, and at least that's the only thing that is really negatively affecting me. Everything else is sort of under control. So, thank goodness for that. Anyway, today's episode is a little bit different than usual because it is the recording of the webinar that I did earlier this week about the 3 core elements of self-care for highly sensitive people. And if you are wondering what the heck that means, you will find out in the webinar. I came up with these 3 elements based on my own self-care journey and the self-care journey of my clients. And it seems to me that when these 3 elements are in place, it really creates a great environment for self-care. So I'm excited to share this with you. This is the first time I've really talked about this because it just sort of recently came to me. So I hope it makes as much sense to you as it did to me in my brain. But here we go. All right, so we'll get started. I'm Lauren LaSalle, as I'm sure you know, and I have called this presentation 3 core elements of self-care for highly sensitive people. I wasn't really sure what to call it, so this is what I came up with. It seems a little vague, but you'll see what I'm talking about once we get there. And if you have any questions that come up, I will answer questions at the end, but you can just put them in the chat. All right, so my mission is to empower highly sensitive people with the tools and strategies to have a deeper understanding of themselves, to take care of their needs and well-being, and accept themselves for who they are, because these are things that I struggled with a lot. And of course, I didn't just get good at these things and now I'm set. It's still a work in progress, but I did a lot of self-work on these, and I love working with my clients on these things too. So that's why I'm here. So during this presentation, I'm going to tell you about the 3 core elements and how to get them, how to have them in your life so you can have great self-care. And then at the end, I'm going to show you how to get more support if you would like it. So is that all right with you? Perfect. Okay, so these are some pictures of me over the years. The first one is in high school, I think the end of high school. The second one was in college, so I was maybe like 19, 20. My first attempt at college, I should say. The third picture is my third attempt at college, which I finally did graduate in my mid-20s. And the last picture is me now. So these are very different people, I would say. The first 2 people are the same. The third one is different. And then the fourth one, who I am now, is even different from all of those. So I went from not understanding myself and what my needs were, because I did not find out that I was highly sensitive until I was in my mid-20s, to going to know myself and what I need to feel good and what I need to feel healthy and what I need to take care of myself. I was very, very depressed and anxious and angry and resentful when I was younger and like in those first two pictures. And I have come to feel happy, content, more balanced, less reactive. And I don't know if you can tell the difference between the first picture and the fourth, but just because I know where I was in those places, I feel like there's a huge difference. I went from being the person who people came to with their problems, and that's pretty much all I was to them, to setting boundaries to limit how much I take on from other people. And that has made a huge difference in my life. I have gone to spending my time and energy only on other people and neglecting myself, to setting boundaries to protect my well-being, my time, and my energy. And I went from really not liking myself or feeling worthy of much at all to feeling confident. So I'm self-compassionate now. I speak to myself kindly, I approach myself kindly, and I feel empowered to make positive changes in my life. So there has been a huge transition from that first picture to the person that I am now. And that's one of the reasons why this is what I want to do. This is why I want to help other HSPs. I want them to be able to, from wherever they are right now, to get them to a place where they're feeling good. So this webinar is for you if you are, of course, an HSP. You desire stronger boundaries, you struggle to prioritize self-care, you often feel overwhelmed, stressed, resentful, you crave a deeper self-understanding, you feel unworthy or not enough, and you seek empowerment and confidence. And maybe it's not all of these, maybe not all of these pertain to you, but if at least a couple of them do, then I think you'll get something out of this. Okay, so these are the three core elements of self-care, and I really hope this makes sense because it made sense in my brain, and it's sort of something that I just happened to stumble upon while I was trying to come up with this webinar and find like what the focus would be. So I have this little graph, and so the first core element is knowing yourself and understanding your needs. So if you're here, you already know that you're an HSP, so that's a great first step. And now you know that you have different needs than non-HSPs. So being aware of that and being aware of what your unique needs are is definitely key. The second is that you must believe that you're worth caring for. And it's hard to really take care of yourself if you don't feel like you're worthy of it. Um, and if this rings true to anybody, let me know. Definitely pertained to me when I was younger. It's much easier to take care of yourself and make yourself a priority when you feel like you are deserving of it and like you're worth it. The third element is connection with other HSPs. So I have noticed that this is a huge factor when it comes to increasing your self-acceptance and your self-compassion. I've noticed it with myself. I've noticed it with my clients. Connecting with other HSPs lets us know that there are other people out there that get us and who have similar experiences and struggles and who can validate how we're feeling and what we've been through. So I feel like these are the three things that need to be in place for like the ultimate self-care. To explain this graph a little bit more. So when you know yourself and understand your needs and you believe that you're worth it, you become empowered. And when you believe that you're worth it and you have connection with other HSPs, you become more confident. And when you connect with other HSPs and you know yourself and understand your needs, you become more self-accepting. And so all of these things together create an atmosphere where you are able to put yourself first and attend to your needs to become the best version of yourself. So of course you can still have great self-care when these things are not in place, but I really feel like when they are in place, you you're just like sort of at another level. Like you really have all of the components to really take care of your well-being. So if you're here, you might crave a deeper understanding of what it means to be highly sensitive and your unique needs. So you might feel like you're too much or not enough. You might feel unsure of how to truly nurture yourself in a way that brings balance and peace. You might feel anxious or fatigued without a clear reason. You might be more affected by other people's moods or criticisms, which can leave you feeling emotionally raw and unsure of how to protect your energy. You might have strong emotional reactions that other people don't seem to understand. And you might experience overwhelm from bright lights, loud noises, energy of a crowded room. You might be doing what you think you need to do for self-care or what everybody else is doing, but it seems ineffective. You might struggle to keep up with the demands of everyday life. And let me know in the chat if any of these resonate with you. I definitely can relate to a lot of those. So if you are feeling like this, here are some things that you can do. So learn about self-care needs specific to HSPs, because like I said before, they are different than self-care for non-HSPs. Make sure you are getting daily downtime so that you can process, just have time to yourself, some quiet, do whatever you need to for yourself. Make sure you have some items to help prevent overstimulation. So maybe that's headphones or even bringing sunglasses if it's sunny out can sometimes make a really big difference. You can learn some mindfulness and grounding practices, which are great. There are a lot of things even on YouTube that you can just Google, like mindfulness or guided meditation or how to ground yourself. Those are easy ways to get some of those. Learn about your emotional triggers and responses. So notice when you are feeling triggered, which I feel like is a word that is used so often these days, but learn about when you're having big emotional responses and see if there's a pattern. Notice if there's something that happens a lot and you're having a big emotional response. Figure out what you can do in that sort of situation, which is easier said than done, sort of glossing over that one, but that would be a whole different presentation. You can set healthy boundaries wherever you need them. Maybe it's with family, friends, work, wherever you need them in your life. Find a creative outlet, whether that is painting, singing, playing an instrument, drawing, writing, any type of creative outlet can really be good, especially for HSPs to sort of just get that out. Like it's just another way to express ourselves, to get things out. And it can be relaxing as well. Also, make sure you are taking care of your physical self-care. So whether you are walking, running, if you play a sport, dancing, yoga, making sure you are moving your body every day and taking breaks if you need to move your body. And integrate self-care practices into your daily life and stick with it. So some people, a lot of people, I think, like to have like a flexible routine where you have certain things like movement or certain things that you like to do during the day to take care of yourself. And instead of having a super rigid schedule, just do it sort of when it feels good. And then you don't feel like the pressure sometimes that rigid schedules have to get it done. So those are some things that can be helpful. This is a testimonial from one of my clients who came to me. She knew she was highly sensitive, but she didn't really know what that meant besides sort of being empathic. So she came so far in learning how to set boundaries and really take care of herself as an HSP. It was really cool to watch her grow. So I'll just read this quickly. She said working with Lauren was incredibly helpful. She does a wonderful job of normalizing thoughts and experiences and educating on how being a highly sensitive person folds into the thoughts, experiences being discussed. She is warm, welcoming, and an excellent listener. She really helped me understand what being a highly sensitive person means, what it looks like in my own life, and ways to embrace as well as support my personal needs. So she is a really awesome example of being able to go from not knowing anything about how to support your self-care and your needs to really knowing what she needs and what she needs to do to take care of herself. So very cool transformation. I wish I could tell you more about her and our work together because it's very impressive. So I'll tell you more about this at the end, but my new program, the Sensitive Self-Care Collective, will teach you how to take better care of yourself as a highly sensitive person and will provide you with the tools and support that you need to level up your self-care. So I'm very excited about that. So another issue you might struggle with is you struggle to prioritize self-care because you don't feel like you're worth it. You're used to putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own. That was a huge one for me. Huge one. So if this is something that you struggle with, life might feel draining and unbalanced. You might feel like you're constantly running on empty, emotionally and physically exhausted from putting everyone else's needs before your own. Your days might be filled with obligations, helping others, and saying yes even when you want to say no. Over time, you might feel resentful, unappreciated, or invisible, as if you're giving everything but receiving very little in return. And it can be hard to relax or take time for yourself because you feel guilty whenever you try to put yourself first. And you might feel disconnected from who you are or what you need, and you don't know how to break out of this cycle of self-neglect. So life might feel like an endless list of tasks and responsibilities, which leaves you little room for resting or self-compassion or joy. And I remember when I was in this spot and I was just driving to work, driving home from work, working, and sleeping. It was not a good time. So if you are feeling those ways, here are some things that you can do. Practice self-compassion. Speak to yourself as you would to a friend. That's been a really huge one in with my clients is telling them to speak to themselves as they would talk to a friend because we are so hard on ourselves. We can be really mean to ourselves. So if you think about your situation in terms of a friend or someone that you really care about is in that situation, think of what you would say to them and then say it to yourself. Strive for self-acceptance, which is hard. That's a long journey, but it's something that can be really, really helpful and definitely worth it. Learn all about yourself and what you want and what you need, not what other people want you to do. Identify what your strengths are. Set boundaries in your life. Reframe what you've been told about yourself in the past and past negative experiences. So, especially, I think HSPs deal with a lot of people saying hurtful things to us because they view us in a certain way. They don't understand us, and it can be really harmful. So, being able to look at those thoughts, because sometimes they become our thoughts and our feelings about ourselves. So being able to look at those and really think about, do I truly believe this about myself? Or is this just based on what somebody else said? That can be a game changer. And then putting your air mask on before helping others. So we have to take care of ourselves before we can actually be there for other people. So making sure that you take care of yourself is very important for many, many reasons. And here is a little celebratory post from a member of my self-care app, the Reclaim app, who completed the 7-day boundary setting challenge on his own, which was so cool. So he said, thanks for the 7-day boundary setting challenge. It was really helpful. I set a boundary that I have never been able to set before, and it was incredibly empowering. I expected to feel stress and shame, but I was very surprised by the positive feelings that came from standing up for myself. So that was super cool to read. And this challenge is just a small fraction of what we're going to cover in the 2 boundary setting modules in the Sensitive Self-Care Collective. So I am excited to see what everyone accomplishes in there, if this is what somebody can accomplish just from the 7-day challenge. So in this program, I will help you feel empowered to prioritize yourself and your self-care. I will help you work through unhelpful beliefs that are getting in your way, because sometimes part of the problem of us not taking care of ourselves is our beliefs and thinking that we can't put ourselves first or that we're not worth it. So focusing on those unhelpful thoughts are so important. And I will support you in your journey to self-love, self-acceptance, self-compassion, and confidence. All right, so if you are here, you also might feel as though nobody truly understands you, but you don't know how to connect with other HSPs, which is something that I hear so often, especially from podcast guests. They're like, it's great to connect with you. I have no idea how to connect with other HSPs. So life can feel lonely and isolating when you feel like nobody actually understands you, especially if you're an HSP. A lot of people, I think, don't even know that they are. So it's not like we can connect with all of them just in our lives. You might go through your day feeling out of place, misunderstood, emotionally exhausted from constantly adapting to environments that don't feel aligned with who you are. You might feel drained from having conversations with friends or family because they just don't seem to understand your emotions or why certain things affect you so strongly. You might long for deeper, more meaningful connections, but don't know how to find or connect with other HSPs who share your experiences. And it's easy to feel like an outsider, even in social settings. You might wonder if you're too sensitive or if something's wrong with you, which is something that I've heard. I couldn't even tell you how many people say, I felt like something was wrong with me. I felt weird. So, all of this can lead to self-doubt or frustration because you just don't know where you fit in. You feel like you don't fit in anywhere. And without the support of others who understand what it's like to be highly sensitive, it can feel like you're walking alone and you're constantly trying to balance your feelings without anyone seeing you for who you actually are. So, if you are feeling those ways, here are some things that you can do. And this is a much shorter list if you notice than the other two. You can identify other HSPs in your life, even if they don't know it yet. Sometimes that can be helpful, sometimes not. People aren't, you often can sometimes not be super receptive if you're just like, I think you're highly sensitive too. You could go find online groups. So, like on Facebook, there are a lot of like HSP support groups, but that can feel pretty impersonal sometimes because there are like literally thousands of people in some of those groups. You can listen to podcasts. I've had a lot of people say that my podcast makes it feel like they have HSP friends or like, they're in a room with other HSPs. So sometimes that can be helpful too. So here are a couple things that people have shared with me about connecting with other HSPs. So one of them said, let's see, she came to a level of acceptance and appreciation of HSP qualities that she didn't think she could get to from working with me as well as attending HSP community meetings. So I guess I should mention that I have an HSP community and we do Zoom meetings every month. So she also goes on to say her help allowed me to unlock a lot more self-acceptance, internal peace, and easier ways to manage big reactions. Another member said, it was really great talking to you both. I felt so accepted and comfortable with you two almost immediately. I am feeling really grateful and encouraged knowing that there are people out there who really get me and that I could potentially have friendships that truly feel good. Another person said, I just wanted to let you know how great it was speaking to the both of you today. It was empowering to relate and feel connected to what you all go through in your day-to-day lives. Thank you for sharing and being open with me. I truly meant it earlier that if you ever wanted to reach out and connect, I'm here to listen and relate. So having this HSP community was really the main thing that showed me how powerful it is to have connections with other HSPs because the last two things that I read that I think they shared those after our first meeting. Like we'd never met face to face. I met one of them face to face before for the podcast, but besides that, that was the first time we all met like face to face on Zoom and talked for an hour and it felt like we'd known each other for much longer. So it was really cool, very powerful. So, in the Sensitive Self Care Collective, you will be in a community of other HSPs who have similar goals and are working on the same things. You will be connected with other people who understand what it's like to be highly sensitive and who can validate your experiences and struggles, which is huge. So, all of these people will be there to support you along your self care journey, and you can even connect with them outside of the program. So, hopefully, you continue those connections once the program has finished. So, change. Change can be scary, even if it's positive change. The risks of not taking action could be that you continue to have unmet needs that you're not aware of or you don't know how to address. You continue to feel drained, overwhelmed, and anxious. You continue to feel as though you're running a race and can't keep up the pace. So, how do you do it? So if you don't make any change, things will continue on as they are. Or if you do make small changes, it will likely take a considerable amount of time to find the right self-care strategies, probably no accountability for making improvements, and you might not have a community of HSPs to have your back. So this is how I worked on myself. like literally by myself. I had to figure out everything for myself. It took a while, and that's why I am bringing this to you now because I feel like I figured things out and I would like to pass those things on. So, the solution that I've created to the things that we talked about today is my new program called the Sensitive Self-Care Collective. So, if you are looking for a quick self-care fix without putting in the work, then this is not for you because there is a lot of work involved. And if you are not ready and motivated to make positive changes in your life, then this, again, not for you. It is for people who are very motivated, who really want to work on themselves and put in the work to really truly take care of themselves. So I built this program to help you overcome not knowing how to really care for yourself as an HSP, feeling like you can't prioritize yourself and feeling alone and like nobody understands. So it is designed to help you embrace your sensitivity, to become empowered to set boundaries and practice effective self-care, to cultivate self-compassion and self-acceptance, and to connect with other HSPs who will show you understanding, validation, and support. So it is a 12-week self-care mastermind program. It has 12 modules of audio trainings where you can listen to them wherever you are, so it's very convenient. You have lifetime access to the content and all program updates. All of the modules will have some educational content, some practical activities, and reflective exercises to help you develop and sustain effective self-care practices. Like I was just saying, you have access to a community of HSPs and a 24/7 group chat where you can ask questions, you can share wins, connect with other HSPs, and we have a weekly Q&A with me where you can ask specific questions and receive personalized answers tailored to your needs. And the Q&As will be for 6 months, which so you get extra stuff because 12 weeks, the 12 weeks is just where you're learning stuff, but that's not enough to learn everything and be able to implement it. So I want to give you extra time where you can actually have the support to implement the things that you learn. And there are some bonuses, and we'll go over those in a little bit. All right, so we're just quickly going to go through the whole program. I promise this won't take as long as it sounds. So there is a welcome module where you sort of get oriented to the whole thing and how it works. Module 1 is all about sensitivity and self-care, learning why it's so important for HSPs to really take care of ourselves and why we have specific self-care needs. We'll talk about the power of solitude and downtime. Module 3 is self-compassion and acceptance, a huge one. Module 4, understanding and managing overstimulation. Module 5 is emotion regulation techniques. We have 2 modules about setting healthy boundaries because there's a lot of information in those. Creative expression, physical self-care, managing negative and unhelpful thoughts, which I think will be also a big one for people. And we will do some reflection and integration. So, reflecting on your self care journey and integrating new habits into your life, because I don't want you to just learn about these things. I want you to be able to actually use them. And then the last module is planning for the future. So, celebrating your achievements and setting your intentions for continued self care. So there are some bonuses with this program. So one is a bonus training called Empathy Without Overwhelm, because I've heard a lot of people want to learn about like how you can use your empathy without feeling completely drained and overwhelmed. So I am adding that in as a bonus training. You will also get full access to the Reclaim app during this program. So you will have access to a meditations library where there are meditations, affirmations, and visualizations for self-compassion, sleep, boundary setting, stress reduction, and more. The app also has additional journal prompts for self-care and boundary setting. There is a self-care tracker. There are master classes. There's some cool stuff on there. Okay. That's it. I feel like I just sped through that, so I'm so sorry if that was so fast. I should mention that this Monday, October 14th, is the last day to sign up for the Sensitive Self-Care Collective at this reduced rate. So if you are at all thinking about doing it, just apply and I will send you all of the information. I am so excited at the response that I've had to this program. I've had a lot of interest. So I can't wait to build a community of HSPs, get to meet all of you if I haven't met you already. And if you have any questions about the Sensitive Self-Care Collective, you can email me at lauren@laurenlasalle.com. I forgot to tell you at the beginning of this episode that I have a new website and a new domain. So it is now laurenlasalle.com. And so I have a new email address as well. So I will put all of that in the episode description. I hope this doesn't confuse people, but that is my new website and a new way to get in touch with me. All right. Well, I hope to see some of you in the collective. Thank you so much for listening to the Highly Sensitive Podcast. You can help support the podcast by taking a minute to rate and review it, share a favorite episode with a friend, or become a subscriber on Patreon at patreon.com/highlysensitivepodcast. Visit laurenlasallecoaching.com for free resources, information about my coaching programs, and to join my email list. You can connect with me on Instagram at selfcarewithlaurenlasalle or email me at lauren@laurenlasallecoaching.com.